Hello and welcome to GH Music Discourse. Today's episode is going to be very, very interesting and in-depth. And I'm here with PANJI ANNOFF to talk about everything you need to know about the music industry. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
Okay, and we are here to talk about, and the problems, the real issues of the music industry, and possibly some solutions to these problems that we'll mention on the show. But it looks like it's been a while. Where have you been? Have you lost interest in the music?
No, it isn't. The last 4 or 5 years, I had to prioritize my son who was born with a hole in heart. And so I put most of my focus and my attention on my son, who has now had a very successful operation and is healthy. So really I'll say he has been well now for a little bit over a year. But so, the first 5 years of his life, I had to change my priorities and, concentrate on my child. As for Ghana music, there are thousands of people who will fight to solve his problems, but my son, dear, it boils down to me most of the time. So I think it is, even though music is my passion, other things come before your interest and your passion, and in this case it was my son. So I'm happy that he's well, and I have to admit, being away for a while has allowed me to renew my perspective and decide really what I want to do going forward. So, it's, every mistake is a new style. If something happens, don't look at the bad side of it. It's there is something good comes out of everything that happens. So it's let's say now I'm renewed and revived, version 3.0.
But I'm so sorry for.
Oh, it's like I said, it's because I spent so much time with my son. Him and I now have a very, very strong relationship. Like I said, everything that happens, there are advantages to it. Sometimes you only see the disadvantages when the problem exists, but solving the problem creates good things. So yeah, I don't feel sorry now. Of course, there was a time when it was very troubling for me, but now I can look back, with happiness and, so.
Glad.
Yes, glad, yes.
Then here to talk about the issues in the industry, like they said earlier on, so I'm straight into it. Then, from your perspective, how do you think the music industry is faring?
Changes, and I'm seeing some improvements. I'm seeing good signs. But at the same time, I am seeing some of the existing problems becoming bigger. I am seeing a complete failure to address the issues at the root. If you have weeds growing in your garden and you keep cutting off like shiamenonum, if you cut off the top, you won't see it. But by tomorrow, this weed will have grown back. And so I think if we want to solve problems, we need to tackle the problem at the root and solve it once and for all. The problem that we have is every messiah who comes along claiming to want to solve the problem actually doesn't want to solve the problem, because if the problem is solved, then there are no benefits for them personally. So everybody wants the system to remain the way it is, because that is how they also chop. So we are going to have to find a solution, and that solution really has to do with leadership. But if we are honest with ourselves, since we can't find good presidents for even the whole country, what hope is there of finding good leadership for, the musicians? So I'm not being pessimistic, but I am saying when I look at our infrastructure and I look at our system, from parliament down to the border, the people at the top are failing miserably. The pressure ends up on those at the bottom, but the solutions to the problem, they might be driven by the bottom, but the implementation must come from the top. So we need responsible, conscientious individuals leading us, whether it is parliament, whether it is, in the community, whether it is on a regional level, wherever it is. We have struggled to find responsible leadership across the board. I can go back to Achampong. I think Achampong is the last responsible leader I remember in my lifetime. Of course, Nkrumah before it. All the rest, okay, Kufua, I'll give him 5 out of 10. All the rest, 2 out of 10 or less. Achampong and for me, Achampong and Nkrumah are the only two who scored 7 out of 10 or more. All the rest, 2 out of 10 or below. All of them. So when our president is scoring 2 out of 10, what do you expect the policeman on the street to do? He too, 2 out of 10 gradually. My boss is getting 2 out of 10. He's the big man, me, I'm the small man. 1 out of 10. So leadership matters. In the music industry, we have tried to do so many things to compensate for the fact that we do not have a proper industry. We've tried to do things to compensate for the fact that we don't have a proper rights collection. We've tried to do so many things to compensate for the fact that, our radio stations are not doing their jobs as they should. Or our DJs, we've done millions of things to try and compensate for the fact that the DJs are collecting payola to play our music rather than the radio stations paying us to play our music. So we have tried to do many things to compensate for the inherent weaknesses that there are. But let's say for myself, 30 years into the journey, I have come to realize that we cannot compensate for all the problems that poor leadership creates. We can try and bypass some of them. We can find our way around them. We can get so far, but we still have a glass ceiling simply because the fundamental structures are not in place. And the fundamental structures are not in place not only in the music industry, it's across the board. There is no accountability. Ghana at the moment, we are struggling for many things. There are women giving birth on the floor of Kolebu. You'd think that the government's priority will be to go and buy more beds for Kolebu, but no, they want to buy more Land Cruisers for the ministers. So this is a fundamental problem. We know there are not enough beds in Kolebu. How many hospital beds can you buy for the price of one Land Cruiser? But we will buy the Land Cruisers before the hospital beds, which show that our government is full of foolish people. It is. Come on, you must know what your priorities are. You are responsible for the people of Ghana. You cannot provide them with health, with decent health facilities. There are women who travel 40, 50 kilometers to go and give birth at a midwife center. And yet, what is our priority? Surely the priority of our leaders must be the next generation. So the next generation starts with the moment of birth. Our responsibility must be to the women who are carrying the Ghanaians of tomorrow. Let's make sure that they can give birth safely, they can give birth with dignity, and they can give birth affordably. I've been to hospitals and seen women, their children have almost started walking. Why are we here? Oh, we haven't released the child because the woman hasn't paid her bill. So you've kept this woman, and then that woman will be in the hospital. She's doing odd jobs. She's doing washing for the people who are in the hospital, doing cooking, cleaning, just to stay alive and feed herself while so she has been in the hospital for months because the hospital will not release her and her child because she has not paid her bill. If our politicians are not interested in solving these problems, but they're interested in buying Land Cruisers so that they themselves can, and it's not one, it's not, they already have one, they already have two. We want to buy them more. because it's an old model. But we cannot prioritize beds for sick people. That shows the sickness is not in the hospital. The sickness is in power. It is the politicians who are sick. They are not thinking. So for me, these problems, the problems of the music industry, music is a reflection of life. People sing songs about how they are feeling. And the way that I am feeling now, okay, maybe only 5% of the people in Ghana feel the way I do, or maybe 95% of the people in Ghana feel the way I do. But basically art, music, films, concert party, theater, drama, the job is to reflect the feelings and the thoughts and the climate of an environment.
Yeah.
So the music industry is always going to reflect the state of the nation. And our current state of the nation is not very healthy at all. And sure, individually, musicians and producers, we are in the middle of a major revolution, which, to be honest, I thought would happen 20 or 25 or 30 years ago, which is African music becoming the dominant pop music of the world.
Okay.
Today, if you go to Azerbaijan or you go to Papua New Guinea or you go to Colombia or you go to Japan and you go into a nightclub where they play music to make people dance, you will find that 20 or 30 or 40 or 50% of the music you are hearing is coming from Africa. This has never happened in the past. You didn't go to maybe, let's say, Croatia, and you go to Croatia, you go into a nightclub and 20 or 30% of the songs you are hearing are African. It has simply never happened. That music always primarily came from Europe and America. Now, the vast majority of house music that we hear in Ghana is coming from South Africa. The rest is coming from Tanzania, Congo, Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Kenya, whatever. So there is a major, major paradigm shift taking place across the globe, which is that African music has moved from wherever it was. All of a sudden, it is floating at the top of the milk. The cream of today is African music. How long can we stay there? I have no idea, but I think we can do it for a long time. America has been there for the last 100 years. There have been brief periods, the Beatles, Oasis and Blair, there have been a few times when British music has managed to make a small dent in the armor of America.
Okay.
But until African music came along now in this current wave, nobody has ever threatened the dominance, the cultural dominance of America. And now all of a sudden, and actually when we say the cultural dominance of America, we have to realize that the music that America exported to the world is not American music. It's not Native American music. It's not European music. It's African American music, which conquered the globe. So it makes sense that now that America has prepared the world for what Africa sounds like, which we are going to slide in behind it.
Right.
America might have been, a modified version of our music, but they've still prepared the world for our music. And now, thank God, after, let's say, 30 years of my career, I'm finally starting to see what I always thought was going to happen next month or next year or anytime soon. Now it has happened. Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido, Sarkodie, Shatawale, doesn't matter who you mention, Diamond Platinums. They are some of the biggest artists in the world. Their music is everywhere. We never thought, our local artists will fill out 10, 20,000 seater venues in London or in Paris or in New York, but we are doing it.
Panji, in the widest thought, what could make an artist say there was no industry?
Well, the reason why we say there is no industry is because the infrastructure that we have really is a collection of individuals with no, let's say, legal mandate to do things properly. So, the industry, yes, sure, every industry is created by individuals. But you put structures in place that make it easier for these individuals to work and to do what it is that they are supposed to do. For instance, there are laws in Ghana. So as a radio station, if you go and get a license to broadcast, in your terms and conditions of what you are supposed to do, says every time you use a piece of recorded music, or in fact, any recorded performance, log how many minutes of it you played and from what time you played it until what time. This is mandatory everywhere in the world. Radio stations have promised the National Communications Authority that they will do this. And yet, you go to a radio station, they say, oh, as for here, dear, we don't log. Why? You have promised, you were given a license to broadcast on condition that you write down every single recorded performance that you use. Because when you use a recording, every recording in the world belongs to somebody. If I record myself now with my phone of me saying 1, 2, 3, 4, that recording belongs to me.
Okay.
If somebody else made that recording of me, the recording belongs to them. To exploit it, you need my permission. In order to make money out of a recording of me that you have made, you need my permission. And then we'll agree, okay, when you make the money, you take 60%, I'll take 40%. Or I'll take 80%, you take 20%. So we sit down and agree that this is how this intellectual property that we have created is going to be exploited. How are we going to share the proceeds? So anytime you use a recording or a performance of anybody or anything, somebody used their time, their money, their energy, their brain, and their resources to create it. You see, nobody will see a house standing somewhere and say, oh, I'm going to go and stay in that house. You know the house belongs to somebody. If you go into somebody's house, you are a thief. But with art, our intellectual property, the reason why they call it intellectual property is because you are supposed to get rent from it. Every time the radio station plays your song, they are renting it. They are also using that song to make money, and therefore they are supposed to give you a small percentage. It's tiny actually, but tiny drops of water make a mighty ocean. Imagine if you have a song like maybe Kwame Eugene, Open Gate, or that's what I've heard that song thousands of times this year. If every time that song was played, Kwame Eugene got half of 1 peso, the song is played 1 million times and he has 50,000. Right? So, I mean, a tiny amount adds up if a song makes a certain impact. And we've all seen songs that make huge impacts. Anywhere else in the world, and let's use our fellow Ghanaian, the thing was, what is it? What's his name? Is it? Michael Dapa, yes. Michael Dapa made hundreds of thousands of pounds from that one song. So even if he doesn't make another song in his lifetime, the intellectual property from that one song has bought him a lot of things and made him investments that he doesn't really need to make another song in order to live okay. If Michael Dapa had released that song in Ghana, he could be homeless at Circle by now. So if I say there is no industry, the industry is what made Michael Dapa's song into a house, into a car, into treasury bonds that he's using to secure his future. It is the industry that does that. And that is what I'm saying is missing. I'm not saying we can't make the Michael Dapa song in Ghana. Yes, we can. I'm not saying we can't develop an artist like Michael Dapa in Ghana. I'm not saying we can't make a hit like the Tingo Skrr in Ghana. But the artist who does Skrr, the artist who does that in Ghana might be lucky to make 10,000 CDs from that song. I have seen artists as big as, I won't mention names, but some of the biggest artists in Ghana, when your song has been played on radio 2 2, 3, 4, 500,000 times in a year, they're offering you 600 cedis, when maybe Michael Dapa is collecting 600,000 pounds. So this is
Nowhere close.
nowhere close. So this is what is missing. And it is a disgrace that a country like Ghana, who claims to be one of the leading lights of Africa, has a situation in which the owners of the art which is being created here in Ghana are being robbed blind by broadcasters and the state and others, when really there is no reason why we could not have found a solution to this problem by now. You know what I mean? But then again, accountability. Nothing happens anywhere in this world successfully without accountability. Even in a relationship between a father and his children, or a woman and a husband, a man and his wife, there is accountability. Without accountability, every relationship will collapse. Every system collapses without accountability. I promise you that, I'm taking your 100 cedis, I'm going to buy kinky for you. The next day, you see me driving a Benz and you ask me, where is the kinky? We say, Charlie, Adikam. And then you go. You bounce and you meet me 6 months later. Charlie, where is the kinky? This is how our governments function. So everybody who is beneath the leader of our government will behave like them or worse. In the position that I'm in, I don't have the opportunity to steal millions of dollars of taxpayers' money. Mm-hmm. But if I did have the opportunity, what would I do? If my boss is stealing billions, me too, I'll try and steal millions. After all, can my boss come and tell me, hey, stop stealing? He can't, because he's stealing more than me. I'll tell him, maybe I can crave in the way we have been madam for free. Yes. So, if you put a thief in charge of the kitchen, there will be no accountability in the kitchen. And the day you think you are going to cook a sumptuous meal for your guests you've invited, or maybe your extended family, you go to the kitchen, you see there's not even one grain of rice in the kitchen.
But what I find...
Well, at the moment, there is a powerful body called the Alliance for Change. Yeah. So the Alliance for Change have, I would say, brought the vast majority of the musicians in Ghana together to create change once and for all. Because I remember Kofi Ganaba and Faisal Helwani and Konimo marching to the castle. This would be in the 80s. Yeah. I mean, I was a teenager at the time, but I remember photographs on the front page of the newspapers, so these were the musicians marching to go and see government that, this problem and these situations need to be changed once and for all. Now, I mean, so from being a teenager, I've even come to be an old man, and the problems are still sitting there. Anytime a problem is not solved, it means somebody is benefiting from the rot. Mm-hmm. So, why haven't musicians come together to solve the problem? We have tried. However, if a crime is being committed, in other words, if somebody is stealing your property, the law should also come into play. If somebody comes to rob me in my house, I don't chase them and try and catch the thief. I go and report to the police. And I tell the police what I know, and I tell the police, I saw somebody coming to break into my house. He has stolen my laptop. Please go and try and catch the man and give me my laptop back. We don't live in a society where we solve our own problems. We pay taxes so that the government creates institutions who should solve problems when they arise. Which is why I get offended when people get up and say, fix the country. They say, no, fix yourself. No, I am not in charge of government policy. I cannot decide look, all that money they are going to use to buy Land Cruisers for the ministers, let's buy beds for them. I can solve problems easily. You can't tell me there's no money to buy beds if there's money to buy Land Cruisers, right? So I cannot solve the problem because I'm not in a position to. But I can assure you that if I was in that position, I would buy the hospital beds before Land Cruisers. Because that minister sitting in that Land Cruiser crowd, when he has an accident, where is he going to go? Is it the Land Cruiser that will help him, or he still has to go to a hospital? So let's deal with the hospitals first. The hospitals are for everybody. The Land Cruisers are for a group of 200 and something people. Even though, Charlie, now Ghana government, by the time you count everybody in Ghana who is entitled to a Land Cruiser, you probably find 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people. All of them entitled to 2 Land Cruisers and 45 gallons of fuel a week. 45 gallons of fuel a week. Why do people in government need 45 gallons of fuel a week? Where are they going? You know, and so what I'm saying is, the answer to your question is not that musicians have not come together to try and solve the problem. It is that we are not the ones, we are not the police force. We are the citizens who take our problems to the police when there is an issue. If the police tell us, okay, go and solve the problem yourself, then if we don't solve the problem, you can say, why haven't we come together to solve it? How will we solve it? We'll solve it One Love's way. Cut off their heads and spill the blood on the wall. That is how, if you ask me to solve the problem, the people who have been collecting my rent and chopping it, when I go and meet them, what will I do? What would you like? If somebody has been collecting your rent for the last 30 years and chopping it without giving you any, what will you do the day you meet them? So it is not in the interest of the government for us to solve our problems. Because me, the person who has been chopping my money, I'll break his head. He's trying to kill me. What is the solution to my problem? I must try to kill him too. I can't say, hey, oh, famanyame. No. When somebody is trying to kill you, your justifiable response under the law is self-defense. You must try and kill him too, to protect yourself. So I don't think the government of Ghana wants we, the individuals, whose rent is being stolen, to go and solve the problem. The government should solve the problem peacefully, because we cannot find a peaceful solution to this problem. Our solution will be violent and bloody. Because I'm angry that somebody has been collecting my money for 30 years and then will come and tell me nonsense. I will kill him when I see him. I'm telling you honestly, that is what I would do. If you want me to solve the problem, I will solve it. And when I kill this person, the next person who comes knows that, hey, if I steal Panji's money, he'll come and kill me. He will not steal my money. I promise you. Your life is not worth stealing anybody's money for. However, if they think like the politicians, they can steal and get away with it, they will continue to do it. And the politicians also do not want accountability, because they know that if any of them are held accountable for what they've done over the last 4 years, 8 years, 16 years, we will kill them too. So our politicians are not interested in accountability. They want this rotten system. So if you tell we the citizens, don't tell us, oh, there are so many musicians, we are powerful, why haven't we solved the problem? Do you really want us to solve the problem? I promise you, you don't. So don't ask us to solve the problem. We can solve the problem. Same like the politics, we can solve the problem. If we see our leaders are messing up, what should we do? I'm asking you. Somebody sitting there, using your taxpayers' money to send his girlfriend to Dubai to go and sit beside a swimming pool. What should you do to him when you see him? Oh, famanyame, is that what we should do? No. How many politicians have been found guilty of stealing money? How many of them go to jail? How many of them remain at post? Look at today. The health minister said, oh, no matter why she 200 and something million, 25 million. I made a mistake. So that means the people who have power are allowed to make mistakes. They are allowed to steal money, and there is no punishment for them. But let a poor man go and steal 1 goat. They will beat him to death, or they will go and lock him in prison for 10 years. Those people who stole goats, they should let them all go out so that we have space for the people who we need to imprison. Somebody who has gone to steal 1 yam, then a foolish judge will go and say, 10 years with hard labor. For stealing 1 yam,
Then there's somebody who has stolen 25 million, 30 million. We don't even punish them at all. So this is the problem. The problem is bigger than music, but music always gives you a clear indicator of the system you are in and the problems that you face. So whatever is happening in the world is happening in music on a micro scale. So it is not that musicians are unable to solve the problem. By law, we are not allowed to take the law into our own hands. But if the law won't work for us, eventually we will take the law into our own hands because we realize, this law here is not helping us. So we only believe in the law because we believe the law is supposed to protect us. But if we think the law exists to victimize us, will we protect the law or fight for the law to exist? No, we'll fight against the law. That is how colonialism ended in Ghana. For a long time, the law stated that the wealth and all the proceeds of Ghana belong to the queen. That was the law. We fought against the law to say that no, Ghana belongs to we the Ghanaian people, and the wealth of Ghana should belong to all Ghanaians. However, now we have a few people who think that the wealth of Ghana belongs to them as a small group of individuals. So the same way the wealth of Ghana was taken away from the British at one point, this process hasn't ended. It will continue. In 200 years' time, there will be a new formula. In 500 years' time, there will be a new formula. No condition is permanent. Now everything changes.
Okay.
But either allow us to change them or make the changes before the changes change you. So I don't think it is fair to say the musicians have failed to mobilize, we have failed to take action. No, that is not the reason why the problem exists.
All right. And I want to find out what opportunities are out there that our musicians are not taking advantage of.
Well, there are many at the moment. Musicians are not allowed to endorse betting. Musicians are not allowed to endorse alcohol. Musicians are not allowed to endorse many things. And the reason that, Ghana Standards Board or our government has decided to punish musicians when they don't punish anybody else in society, for me is a very weird, warped, twisted logic. It was a foolish decision that somebody made, because you can't tell me that celebrities are not allowed to do something simply because they are a celebrity. Even how do you define celebrity? Is celebrity 1 million followers or less? What if I have 990,000 followers? Then I can do an advert for Betway. But once I reach 1 million, then I can't. So we have a government who is closing down the avenues that musicians have to generate money. And in a 2-year period when the government said no concerts, basically the avenues that musicians had to make money have been closed down by the government. Somebody jokingly said, the politicians, they put the musicians to campaign for them when it comes to election, and that should be the only way that they can make money. So all the musicians will come and campaign for politics, because a hungry man there, Charlie, if you throw 10 cedis here and you say, come and put your bottles in there, he will do it because he has to eat. So if you restrict all avenues that I have to make money, then you turn me into a prostitute. I have to do whatever I have to do to find something small to look after myself, my parents, my children, whoever depends on me. So I don't think there are opportunities that Ghanaian artists are not taking advantage of. The only thing where I feel Ghanaian artists have not been very progressive is that we have failed to travel. Ghanaian artists don't take their music to Benin and go and try and promote themselves. They don't take their music to Burkina Faso. They don't go to Johannesburg. They don't go to Nairobi. They don't go to Rwanda. They don't go to Nigeria. And so Ghanaian artists, we love this local champion concept. But what every musician needs to realize is that, let's say there are 1 million people in Ghana. Once you have 500,000 fans, you are going to start experiencing diminishing returns, because nobody is going to get 90% of the people to like it. 20, 30, 40, 50% is fine. So once you, in an environment of 1 million people, once you have 500,000 fans, you are really going to struggle to cross that number. On the other hand, you can go to a new country with 100 million people. All you need is 1% of them to follow you, and now you've got 1 million fans. So we need to, especially as the artists achieve some local success, they need to take their product, their brand, their art, and try and move into new territories. Sometimes I blame managers, because really this is a manager's job. You need to know that, hey, look, we've got a hit song here. We can use this hit song to go to Somalia. We can use this song to go to, DRC, Burkina Faso, yes. And so that is one thing I think Ghanaian artists, we don't realize that they love our music in Liberia. They love our music in DRC. They love our music in Nigeria. They love our music in Cameroon. So we should make a conscious effort to position ourselves in their markets. Otherwise, I don't think there are many opportunities in Ghana that the artists are not taking advantage of.
I see.
And COVID has made it hard for everybody. So rather, I think the government should free up the existing opportunities, and don't tell me an artist can't advertise alcohol.
Per what you were saying, I think it goes a long way to talk about global representation of our Ghana's music.
Historically, Ghana has been very well represented with high life music right through from the 40s with Kofi Ganaba, E.T. Mensah, The Temples, Ramblers, Uhuru Dance Band. And the same sort of thing happened again, I guess, over the last 15 years or so with what is now called Afrobeats, but kind of started out as an Azonto movement here. So Ghana, we often spearhead an important revolution. But because our system lacks a proper infrastructure, our energy gets dissipated. So rather than building and moving forward, everything gets scattered. People pick up the pieces, and then they do bigger and better things with it, either because they have a bigger market, as is often the case with Nigeria. You see, Nigeria has such a big market. Ghana, we are 33 million people. Nigeria, they claim they are 250, but let me tell you secretly, Nigerians, they are more than 400 million. Every time they are counting Nigerians, everybody refuses to be counted. So they say, are they sharing money? If they are not sharing money, why are they counting me? So, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Nigeria over the last 20 years. Once I was in Lagos on the day of a census, the first time I saw Lagos without traffic. And I asked all my Nigerian friends, last census, did they count you? I promise you, 5 out of 6 will say, for we are. Nobody wants to be counted. I mean, when you don't trust your government, why does your government even want to know you exist? What are they going to use those statistics for? So Nigeria probably has a market of anywhere between 400 and 500 million people. If you are in that market and you manage to grab just 1%, that's 4 million. To grab 4 million in Ghana, you need 12, 13, 14% of the market share. So it is always going to be difficult for us to gather the kind of momentum that they can. And this is one of the reasons why African unity is so important. The moment Nigeria becomes part of Ghana's natural market, as does Ivory Coast or Burkina Faso, we actually then create a much more dynamic space with more ideas coming from different places, but also more ideas creating inertia within that space. So I am a Pan-Africanist, not just because, I think that the colonial borders are completely arbitrary and random, and they have no bearing whatsoever on our history or our present or our future. But I also think that we do need this bigger market. We need to strengthen ourselves. If somebody is a superstar in America, Charlie, they've made it. So we need to create that kind of market for all African art. As far as I'm concerned, since Ghana, we have tried, we haven't found any sensible president. Me, I would even let them bring somebody from Rwanda. If we can't find a sensible Ghanaian, we'll go and find a sensible person in Rwanda, or we'll go and find a sensible person in Angola, or if we have to go to Libya to find a sensible leader, we will go and find that sensible leader there and add Ghana to their responsibilities, because we have seen that these people, they are sankwa. So I would like to travel around Africa and say, I like the way Rwanda is going. And Mr. Paul Kagame, we beg you. You are nice and tall. We are tired of the short leaders. Come and give us some 6'4" in our parliament house. We have seen your action. Charlie, you are a correct guy. Do I care whether Ghana's president is Baule or Zulu or Yoruba or Achim? I really don't care. I just want a good president who cares about his people and is going to try and help us. And your people is not just your friends and family. Your people is the country. That's why you are the president of Ghana. They didn't say president of Anoff clan. Then that's what me cry can do. So Charlie, if we've seen that, no. All the politicians in Ghana are useless, then let's fight for a united Africa so we can go and find a leader from some other African country where we can see that, no, they are doing better than us. You forget Nigeria, they're even worse than us. We are not going to get a leader from Nigeria, but we'll go to a country where we see, no, their leaders are making progress. You will see that in no time at all, the Nigerians will say, hey, you people, Charlie, step back. That Kagame guy that the Ghanaians have chosen, look how he has changed their country just 3-4 years. So African unity, it not only gives us a stronger market, it not only gives us a stronger military, it not only gives us a global presence, it also gives us a larger choice of leaders to choose from. Because all the ones here, we have, most of us have come to see that, the value is the same, cost 90. To quote Kenny Jonas.
All right.
Glass.
Definitely. Right, welcome back, and I'm still here with PANJI Annoff. And
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
I know, right? But PANJI, you've made great submissions, and I'm just wondering if you have all these ideas that you want to speak of, why haven't you done anything? What is preventing you from finding investors or whoever you think is right to take the music industry to the next level?
Well, I have done on my own part what I can. I felt it was very important we had Ghanaian artists on the global touring scene, and I think we've achieved that with King Aisoba. So, King Aisoba is a very successful international musician. He's doing well. He owns a house in Accra. He owns a house in Bolgatanga. So, I don't say this with any satisfaction, but because of the system we have in place, I know musicians who, at the end of their careers, couldn't say, I have 2 houses, even though perhaps they might have been able to achieve more. I think that it is important that individuals achieve some level of success. So at least if you own the house that you live in, you have automatically reduced your level of poverty instantly, because you are not going to pay rent. If you are broke, you can even go and stay in the boys' quarters of your house and rent out the house, and you are not going to go hungry. So I myself believe these things are very important. So I do think I have done what I can to nurture or develop what I was capable of achieving. I have tried to do what I can to achieve what I wanted to do, in spite of the fact that there is no system or infrastructure to support. And I say this because when I worked in England, there is an arts council. Any artistic job that they think is worthwhile, that might push the artistic envelope of the country forward, will create employment for individuals, has the potential of success, gets some form of subsidy or subvention or support to try and make sure that it happens. I've now been back in Ghana for 22 or 23 years. I don't believe the government has ever given me one cedi to try and achieve anything I've tried to do. And I don't say this in a negative way, because with the High Vibes Music Festival, I had the partnership of Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Tourism, and their partnerships were helpful and useful to me. But when I go into partnership with a government body, it shouldn't be me who is raising the money to make them look good. Come on, it's like me, small boy, I want to carry the government on my head. It shouldn't work like that. When I'm in a partnership with Ministry of Trade and Industry, they should pump some 100, 200, 300,000 into what it is that I'm doing, because they realize that what I'm doing creates, we are building the industry, and the knock-on benefits of any artistic venture, sometimes you have a multiplier factor of 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 30. You know, when something is happening, or even the Uber drivers, the trotro drivers, the vendors, those selling kebabs, you know, those crowd who come to find their customer, and who, some people come to the venue to, they are Ashawo women, they are coming to find. So when there's a successful event, it creates work for everybody. No music, where is Ashawo going to find her customer to go and look after her children? So where is the kebab seller? The kebab seller knows if I go and roast kebab close to where they play music, people will come and buy my kebab. Or there's a big show at Independence Square or Accra Sports Stadium. The kebab seller will go there because he knows today I'm going to sell 500 kebabs, 400 kebabs. So every time we take our business somewhere, we are creating cocoa season for people. All the drinking spots, they are all going to sell alcohol. You understand what I mean? So the knock-on effect of, all the guys who are doing security, we create a lot of employment. So what I'm saying is, I am grateful for the partnerships that I have got from the government of Ghana in the past. Basically, I'm trying to do something useful. I'm trying to create structures that can create employment for myself and many others over an extended period of time. But I haven't seen, not to use France as a good example or as a bad example, but the country of France, their budget for culture is one of the biggest budgets that they have. It could be bigger than military, it could be bigger than health, it could be bigger than education, because they understand that through art and culture, we add value to the nation that is France. We add value to the French language. We add value to what is considered francophonie, right? So if we want to develop our nation, if we want to develop our people, we need to understand that art is the cheapest way to achieve development. Everything else costs a lot of money. But using art, just let's take traditional music into all the primary schools in Ghana. You are going to create employment for all the traditional musicians who live in that area. There are traditional musicians in every area, in every city, in every village in Ghana. Why doesn't the Ghana Education Service use those traditional musicians who play Gota when it is a Yam Festival, or who play Kitty when it is Akweside, or who play maybe Adwa when it is Aburikra? What is our annual festival called? I've forgotten. But what I'm saying is, we have people who create and provide the music for all our traditional ceremonies and festivals. Some of these people are now 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. When they die, our educational system have our schools taught anybody to replace them? No, the only thing they've taught our children is 1 + 1 = 2, A, B, C, D. However, the annual festival, which defines the identity of the community from which they come, our school is doing nothing to develop it or contribute it. Then in 50 years' time, they'll say, oh, because the communities have collapsed, Ghana, we are facing problems. You must invest in communities to strengthen them, to make them stronger, to make them self-sufficient, to make them interdependent. That is how you grow any ecosystem of any sort. So what I'm saying is, if we want a future, let's use the resources we have. We have traditional musicians all over. Let's take them into the primary schools. Let's let them teach the primary school children. They will teach them music. They will teach them history. Because the music of a people always contains its history. It contains its traditions. So it's not as if, there are solutions, there are interventions, there are things that we can do which will improve the environment in which we are living. We don't have to do any hugely radical, no. There are simple, small things that we can do. But I'm sitting here in Ghana, and I don't see that our Minister for Tourism, or our Minister for Education, or our Minister for Culture, they don't realize that they have something in common. And that something in common is to take our culture, to take our music, to take our traditional education into the primary schools so that we can protect it for future generations. They are here busy telling us nonsense, but me as an outsider, it is very clear for me to see that culture, tourism, arts, local government, education, they have something in common. If nobody had taught these people how to play kete, who would be playing kete when there is the Asantehene's inauguration? Our school system, if you go to the British school system, they will make damn sure that there are some children who are learning how to play the music that their composers composed 200, 300, 400 years ago. If you go to Germany, they'll make sure that there are children who know how to play Bach and Beethoven and Handel because they are German composers. But here in Ghana, they cost 90. So how do we address this? This matter must be addressed by simply using common sense. What kind of Ghana do we imagine in 50 years' time? And how do we make sure we have put the things in place to guarantee that we can have this country in 50 years' time?
Right. Our industry have, suffered several blenders. And it's fortunate now that we have someone like Marco Kumante have the deputy minister. I'm hoping to remember saying.
I have to admit, I know Mark for a long time. We go back to maybe 93 or 94, the Balm Tavern days. So I think that, yes, it is very good that we actually have practitioners from within the industry being responsible for ministries, because we have a culture of putting square pegs in round holes, and very often satisfying the political appointment needs are more important than meeting the needs of the country. We see this, this is not unique to NPP, or it's not unique to NDC, it's not unique to, it's just, it has happened for as long as I can remember. So I am not a fan of this multi-party democracy. I don't even believe in democracy at all. Democracy means that you are allowing the foolish people to decide for those who are wise. Am I wise or am I foolish? I can't tell. But I know the majority of the people are always foolish. So when I'm amongst the foolish people, so long as I'm in the majority, I'm amongst the foolish people. So democracy means we are going to, we have accepted that the foolish people should make decisions for us. So why should I don't believe in democracy. 1992 to now, has Ghana made any progress? Zero. Absolutely none.
Between 1992 and now, Ghana should have, that's almost 30 years. 30 years is what it took Malaysia to move from poor country to rich country. 30 years is what it took for Libya to move from the poorest country in the world to one of the richest countries in the world. 30 years is what it took to transform Singapore. And 30 years is what? What have we seen in the last 30 years in Ghana? So me, I don't believe in democracy at all. If there is democracy, then democracy must be devoid of divisions. Democracy, basically, you are saying, hey, all you people here, I'm going to divide you into two. You people every day fight each other. No matter what these people do, you people must fight them. No matter what these people do, you people must fight them. Every single day. So when are we going to unite to actually drive the country forward? The answer is never. The reason why our colonial masters are so interested that we are stuck in this nonsense of multi-party democracy is so that we will never make progress. Because we have divided the country. We say tribalism is bad. But we had Ghana, Ewe, Fanti, Dagomba, Frafra. We had all these tribes. Now we have put all those tribes aside and we've created two big tribes. Those tribes divide families. Those tribes divide marriages. Those tribes divide brothers and sisters. And those tribes are called political parties. So basically, Ghana has been divided. Ghana will never unite. We cannot unite because it has become our civic responsibility to fight each other. Democracy means it is your civic responsibility to fight every day. Go and fight. Every day, go and fight. What if I'm MPP, no matter what NDC does, even if they do something good, I have to say it's Yawa. Even if my party does something Yawa, I have to say it is good. Is this really the best form of government? We intelligent African human beings, is this the best that we can come up with? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Then, like, I want to find out exactly,
Well, I actually watched Marco Kreku Mante's vetting, and he mentioned Batakari Night, which I started with King Aisoba maybe 8 or 10 years ago. I can't even remember. Maybe he mentioned that as being an important milestone in what Ghana can achieve on the artistic and cultural front. And at his vetting, he promised that his ministry will be supporting things like Batakari Festival. See, Batakari Festival, even though it is driven by music, it's also about promoting culture. I wear Batakari all the time. The reason many people don't know is, one, I don't like ironing. So I never iron my clothes. My jeans there, I don't iron. My Batakari, I never iron. But your Batakari looks good without ironing. Your trousers there can be a bit more complicated, which is why mostly jeans. And also I like Batakari because I know if I buy a Batakari for 120 cedis, if I buy a Batakari for 600 cedis, all that money that I've spent remains in Ghana. We actually have a phenomenon where now we are importing thread from China and from the Far East. But a traditional Batakari, not this one, but some of the ones I have, every penny in that Batakari is Ghanaian wealth, Ghanaian money. So Mark promised that the ministry will support Batakari Festival. So I'm very optimistic that it will actually come to pass. As myself, I believe in Ghana. I don't believe in politics and I don't believe in parties. But I am optimistic that with an industry insider like Marco Kreku Mante, who has seen the importance of some of the things that we do, perhaps the era of government support and subvention is about to fall on my head.
So after these artists putting, efforts, they deserve to, recognized or awarded. And so let's speak about awards briefly before we wrap up the show. But I want to take your thoughts on the mood of selection of the artists of the year for Ghana Music Awards.
Well, the thing is, you see, we need to understand that any award is, it's very specific and there are vested interests.
awards are always given by the industry itself. So, for instance, awards are never going to be a very accurate representation of this year. Over a period of 10 years or 20 years, you might find that, okay, yes, over a period of 20 years, most people who deserved something got 1 or 2 awards. But awards are not, there is no way of giving awards fairly. Who is going to choose? The public? Then somebody will go and spend 100,000 voting for himself. That is not fair. So the only way industry awards can be granted is by asking people within the industry to vote or to express who they think is entitled to this. Now, what happens is always the same. In America, the Grammys are voted for by all the record companies. So if you're a big record company, maybe you have 20 votes. If you're a small record company, you have 2 votes or 1 vote. So basically, it's us voting for ourselves. So in America, I will sit down with Atlantic and say, Charlie, this year you guys have a hot artist, Burna Boy. I'll vote for him. Next year, I think we are going to have a hot artist from here, Sarkodie. So me and my guys are going to vote for the Burna Boy this year. You and your guys vote for Sarkodie next year. So this year, Burna Boy will get the award, and next year, Sarkodie will get it. So this is how the Grammys work in America. This is how all awards work everywhere in the world. At the end of the day, we are going to negotiate. So I'm going to negotiate with my fellow record executives and say, Charlie, this year, in fact, you people deserve it. I'm going to vote for you. But next year, I want my vote. I have some hot artists. I need to make sure he gets some Grammys next year. And we'll sit down and we'll agree how we are going to share them, because we are sharing them between us. It's not like we are going to give it to somebody far away. No. At the end of the day, all the awards that go out at the Ghana Music Awards, they are going out to the people who we all work with. Right? So, I mean, awards is not something which is definitive. It's not something which is factual. It's based on arbitrary things. You can't tell me the person who won Artist of the Year this year is therefore the best artist in Ghana. It's not true. It just means they won the award this year. Maybe they deserved it 2 years ago and the organizers couldn't give it to them, so they'll give it to them this year. But it's for what they did 2 years ago. 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, now should really have won the award. But we gave it to Kofi. Last year too, we gave it to Kwame. So now they're Charlie, let's make sure she gets the award this year. This is how it works. Every award is like that. Let's not pretend as if there is, it's like school exams where school exams, some people cheat and come 99% when we all know that this person there, from beginning of term to the end, they have been carrying the class and now suddenly exams 99%. How possible? It happens. There is no system of examination. There is no system of acknowledgement or that is ever going to be bulletproof. It cannot exist. It just will not exist. So for me, awards, if I'm working with an artist, it's fantastic if they win awards because it gives them, it pushes them up the food chain. It gives them status. But as a person who works with artists or as a person who makes music, I have to be honest, I never think about awards. Awards have never motivated me to do anything. So I think awards are important because they cement your status. And my good friend, Fantastic Negrito, he has just won 3 Grammys in a row. 1 year. 2018, he won the Grammy. 2019, he won Grammy. 2020, he won Grammy for Best Contemporary Blues. Of course, he deserves it. But there's push and pull behind the scenes.
Say the Ghana Music Award scheme is a credible one.
There is no credible award scheme in the world. Ghana is no exception. It's not even for music. There is no credible award scheme. Even Nobel Peace Prize, is it credible? Do you know some of the people who have won the Nobel Peace Prize? Murderous butchers, but there are animals who have won the Nobel Peace Prize. So there is no
award scheme that I consider to be credible. Everybody is doing his business in his bag. I mean, Ghana Music Awards is run by a private company. They are not accountable to anybody. So in the absence of accountability, what motivates them to be accountable to who? There is nobody there. The Grammys are accountable to the record companies of America. They created the Grammys to give themselves awards. So I'd say that one, how the votes are shared out amongst all the people who create records in America is, after 100 years or maybe 70 years of the Grammys existing, has started to balance itself out. Ghana Music Awards is 20 years old. Ghanaians, 22. Okay, Ghanaians, we are not particularly interested in accountability. We like chop chop. So I don't expect the Ghana Music Awards to be any more credible than the Grammys. And I expect them to be much less credible than the Grammys. And I'll tell you that the Grammys are not credible either. It's us sharing things amongst ourselves. So don't get excited. You know, it means something. It means you've got to achieve some status to be able to be given an award. You can't give an award to somebody that nobody has heard of. There will be an uproar. But in every category at any given time, there are usually between 3 and 10 people who could justifiably be given the award. And some people will say, yes, they deserve it. Yes, they deserve it. So, you know, there is award and credibility. They are mutually exclusive.
Interesting. And finally, before we wrap up, and I would appreciate it if you could give me names to the person I'm about to ask you. Who are some of the people you think has contributed to the downfall of the industry?
Who has contributed to the downfall of the industry? Everybody who has put themselves into a position of power and authority and failed to bring about change, these are the culprits. So every executive member of Musica, every executive member of Gamro, they are all to blame because they have been in a position to bring about change, but they simply pour more sand inside the gari in the hope that eventually we'll throw all the gari away and then they'll go and pick the sand out. You know, so it's
Everybody.
Yes. Everybody in power is to blame because you can't blame those who are powerless. You know, we don't have the tools, the means, or the infrastructure to effect change. So you can't blame us for the situation we are in. Those who have the power to effect change and refuse to do so must be held accountable.
Interesting. Is it safe to say of war and Rexoma? I'm trying to mention people, you know, Rexoma. Genji was once.
Carlos Sechi, Alaji Sidi Kubwari, Diana Hopeson.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these are the people.
I think these individuals or have failed the most miserably. Perhaps we have all failed collectively, but the biggest failure lies on the heads of those who had power and had authority and decided instead to go deeper down into the cesspit rather than to bring us out into the open where there is fresh air. So if you get the opportunity, you know, if the cesspit is dirty, you go inside, you come out smelling.
Yeah.
But if you go in there and you clean it and you come out smelling, you've achieved something. But if you go in, you come out smelling and you leave the cesspit even dirtier than it was, which is so far, every time there has been change, it has just gone from bad to worse. You know, Carlos Sechi came along proclaiming to be a messiah. You know, in Ghana, we like messiahs because we have been bamboozled into believing in religion that then a miracle, a messiah is coming. So we are always looking for who is going to bring the messiah, who is going to bring the miracle, who is going to be the messiah. And it's one thief after another. So we need to get to the point where we stop believing in miracles and we start believing in hard work. The road to success is hard work, little steps, consistent every single day. There are no miracles. And the moment you start to believe in miracles, Charlie, your
serious issues begins to break down.
yes, everything collapses.
Interesting. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
In the part.
Sorry for my small kata. Kuru.
Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.